I heard something fall. Turning back around, I realized it was Chiemi.
Chiemi!
Still confused, I rushed over and caught her. It was a momentary loss of consciousness. She hadn't fainted. She just seemed to be drifting at the border of reality.
Oi!
How can you tell that?
私、なんでこの部屋どこ
さっきのやつは何なんだ
さっきのおかしいな。なんだろう。眠い。ごめん。帰るわ。
Chiemi stood up. Her eyes were utterly devoid of life. She headed to the door. It was closed. There was no one there. I set that matter aside for now. Chiemi was way more important. I had to stop her. That was why I
絶対に連れて行く。
wrapped my arms around her.
捨てる命なら僕にくれ。
That would really be throwing it away.
明日の朝、ちえみとめいこを連れてここを出る。
君を連れてじゃないんだ。
That was her first response in a while.
君によろしくお願いされたからね。その岩最後まで組ませてもらう。
律儀なんだ。
でしょ。実は子供を見殺しにするのは他よりも気分が悪いって打算もあったりするんだ。
悪ぶれてないよ、春明さん。
What tough guy act?
嫌だった？
嫌じゃないけど、けじめというか、区切りは欲しい。
Oh my god.
僕と付き合って。
Oh my god. This was so cool, and then they had to do this.
だから一緒に逃げよ
う。わかった。言っておくけど、一緒に死んでもいいって意味だから。メイコちゃんのことは悪いけどあんま考えてないし。
自分に責任持てよ。
Oh, Chiemi, I thought better of you.
ちえみさんどうも脳に問題があるっぽいから、年長者に頼っちゃいたい。
任せろ。あと、他に希望者がいたら連れて行くから。
私は特別扱いじゃないんだ。
特別扱いだよ。他は任意だけど、君とは付き合った以上、踏んじばってでも連れて行く。
Oh my god.
微妙。
知ってるか？
Don't be.
僕は
That's a
モテ
sign
な
of a
いんだ。
controlling asshole.
Whoa, you don't say!
This guy isn't popular? What?
春明さん、ありがとう。
Her teary voice compelled me to embrace her.
私が今夜狼に殺されたら。
言うな。
私の何でもいいから、どこか一部だけでも。
Take my head.
連れてって。
心配するな。
怖いよ。
僕がいる。僕がいるから。
It hurt to say baseless things.
Oh my god.
Even so, I kept on saying whatever I could to make her feel better.
Oh.
This went on for only 10 or so minutes, though. Even if the wolves didn't pay us a visit, we'd have to respect the rules of living here. We awkwardly exchanged some parting words, and I saw her off as she returned to her room, her parting ways with a frail smile on her damp face. Tomorrow. Everything would be decided tomorrow.
I'm so annoyed because this game does have some really tight writing.
Yeah.
And it's very good, but there's so much of this bullshit romance sprinkled in. It really disrupts the flow, and it just kind of ruins the mood.
Yeah, and it doesn't make Haruaki or even Chiemi relatable in any way. It's just I feel like when I'm just getting into like the supernatural murder occult mystery, here comes a bullshit, J-drama.
Yeah, like that whole scene with the most recent feast and then everybody going and hanging Kaori, that was really, really well done. Like, I felt that. Like, the actors it was good. It was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I would like more of that and less of what we just had to sit through.
Yeah. And then You know, it's see now I'm wondering if Chiemi is the werewolf. If this is meant to be like, oh, a last betrayal, but
Mm-hmm.
that mummy thing mentioned the daughter of Fushiyoshi, right?
Fushiyoshi, yeah. It was not Fujiyoshi.
Right, Fushiyoshi. And when it said that, Chiemi went unconscious and completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I want to know now who the fuck Fushiyoshi is, because clearly Chiemi is like descendant of that, probably some type of priestess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another morning. Aside from being really hungry, I woke up the same as always. He's like barely had anything to eat for 4 days.
That's true.
I hadn't died. That
Hey,
you know
I'm trying to look at the silver. Maybe there's a silver lining here. Maybe he's so hungry, the first thing he does will be to eat Chiemi out. Like,
of.
we're all so focused, like, here. Obviously, Boner-san is the most important character in this game.
Right.
But if he really thinks he's such a gentleman, maybe he can act on it and do her
Yeah.
a favor.
Do her a favor. I mean, she clearly needs it.
Yeah.
The only real difference this morning was that I could go outside as I pleased. It was still misty out, and I couldn't see much beyond the dorm. A settlement isolated in mist, a space cut away from the world. Could we really leave this place? We
No,
could.
dummy.
It had to be physically possible. The idea that we couldn't was just speculation, no matter how much this place defied reality. What was that thing? Why had Chiemi collapsed? How sane were we? Was this even really happening? Human senses and memories often lied to us, though. Just dismissing anything that didn't make sense as an illusion wasn't a good idea. That thing that thing had actually visited us. Its appearance was strange, but I had little proof that it was something super... What?! I had little proof that it was something supernatural? Are you fucking kidding me?!
I love
Thus-
how you still manage to be outraged. Every time this stupid man says something that is just like, that flies completely in the face of his own lived experience, you're so outraged still.
It's so aggravating.
Yeah, it is.
That had to be human.
I would like to revisit one of my very early theories was that he died when he crashed his bike, and this is like this whole thing is just some kind of weird purgatory.
Right. Again, sent here by God convenience store worker.
Yes.
As for the reason Chiemi collapsed, there were quite a few possibilities. Unless it was a trick she'd schemed with that thing beforehand, that being had to have been too much for her to handle emotional. Nah. You are so against anything being supernatural, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I want to force feed you humble pie. What did the thing say again? Oh yeah, the wolves cometh to the smell of Yomi. Cleanse, shelter, and dream. Daughter of... Yeah, see, he's gonna fucking... See, daughter of Fujiyoshi, was it? No. She definitely said daughter of... Or it definitely said daughter of Fushiyoshi, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It basically seemed like a fancy way of saying, get back to your room and sleep. So it was a warning from those who made the rules. Then, was that something on the mountain? Great Lord Shinai's side? No, to be honest, I'd say it was more like something from the other side. I mean, it kind of fit my image of Yomibito. It wore sutures in place of clothing, and the cloth over its face reminded me of a funeral shroud. The word corruption seemed particularly fitting. It had a really sinister aura, to me anyway.
It did have that diamond with a spiral in it, too,
yeah,
on its little mask.
Yep, though that was strange. Great Lord Shinai was the enemy of the forces from Yomi. Yomibito wouldn't act as his messengers. This contradiction, it was quite eerie and alluring unknown. But that didn't matter now. My goal was to let Chiemi and any supporters we gathered escape. I returned to the room, made my futon, and started searching again. The futon was the only thing in the closet. There was nothing I could use as a weapon. I gave up, left the room, and went to Chiemi's. If the worst had come to pass, I had to fulfill her last request. The door was
やは
locked.
りそうか。
So the wolf was... I knocked. She came out after just a few seconds. Apparently she was already ready to
武器が
go.
欲しい。
そう思って
Take your pick. I have a whole bunch. She gave me a pretty large knife with a sheath, probably used for hunting. Chiemi, why do you have so many knives?
Because she's a hunter.
君のは
前の包丁はなくし
I
ちゃ
have
った
this
から
gun.
それきり
Oh,
だから守ってね
puke.
任せて。
I had zero confidence in pulling it off, but sometimes bravado was important to hold on to.
Oh.
We went to Haru-chan's room. It wasn't locked. The room was no bigger than the others, but it was a huge mess. But it didn't look like there was a corpse present. She'd either already woken up and went outside without locking the door, or her corpse was somewhere outside the Yoshitsugu-kun. I'd gained a habit of expecting the worst.
安永君は
同じ
メイコのところへ行こ
Today's mist was denser than usual. Just extending my arm was enough to make my hand hazy and indistinct. I kept on walking, knife in my hand and Chiemi's hand in my left. The settlement was way too quiet. We headed for the village plaza. I almost tripped a few times on the field paths, but Chiemi kept me on my feet with just a few warnings. I could keep going as long as she was with me. We arrived at the plaza. There was no one there. Basically, there was no need to use the dining hall as the go-to gathering spot anymore.
Yeah, there's no one to cook for you. Guess you're all gonna starve.
We passed Rikaku Uematsu's house. It didn't look unlocked, but I couldn't hear any indications of movement from inside. Was she asleep? Or did something happen to her? Whatever the case, I had no choice but to
う。こ
ignore
こだっ
her.
け
Mako's place was open? Thankfully, all I found inside was just a messy futon. It was the same as Haru-chan's room. But, now that it happened with 3 people, it was safe to assume something wasn't right.
チエミ悪いけどこれ返す。
I gave her the knife, and grabbed a stick lying against the house.
どういうこと
実際に使える武器がいるから。それより
No.
どこを目指そう
That was
not
actually
skilled.
very self-aware of him.
I'm not skilled enough with a knife, so I'm going to use this big old thwacking stick.
I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
やっぱりお堂かな
As it turned out, that was exactly where the other inhabitants were. With the exception of one, anyway.
遅かったねいや私らが早すぎたか
Haru Makishima, she was in her usual agitated state. Tai Yamawaki, she was silently chanting something to herself. Meiko, Haru-chan had her hands on her shoulders, but she still looked nervous. And finally...
おはようチエネ
Oh, shit! Kyonosuke's dead!
Holy cow.
Hooray!
Hooray!
それに
Hooray! Hooray!
久石春明さん
Yasunaga Oribe, his face was grim. Those were all the people here, meaning... Those were all the people here, meaning that...
ついに野里さんか
Good. A simple process of elimination was enough to know who was gone. Anyway, it was time for the first battle.
メイコおいで
Meh. But Haru Makishima stopped her. It was time. I raised my stick and...
本性を表しましたが久石さん
Yasunaga Oribe stood in my way. He had a menacing-looking grass sickle in his right hand. He readied it for a swing at me.
あなたが全ての不幸の根源だ最後だと思って今朝
Yeah,
実
he
力
looks
に
like he
訴
could
えるの
fuck
を
me
予
up.
想してましたよ
Does he?
嘘何
I mean,
I must
he-
be being fooled by the glasses.
Yeah. Like, he's got a strong jawline. He's pretty broad. I mean, he's not like super
yeah.
buff, but I think he could at least do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, that jacket's not like super form-fitting, so.
Yeah.
この人が汚れの元凶だよ。この人を宴に混ぜないのは失敗なんだ。この人をくくってれば、母さんも、義継も、みんな死ななくてよかった。
No.
No.
Alas, no.
今日は、この人をくくるんだ。
No, not really, no.
安永くん、よくないな。誰も知らないストーリーを軸に大事な話を進めたら。
Oh, listen to him. He's all reasonable and logical.
Right?
Ugh.
あなたもでしょ。どうして急に殴りかかろうとしたの？
おお、そりゃそうだ。ちなみに行動理由は人質奪還ね。
だからそれは。
まあその前に、ここで混乱の極みを味わっているちえみちゃんにフォローをしておく許可をくれよ。
Oh my god.
What? They didn't say another word. Chiemi and Mako were the only ones who seemed confused at all. Basically, the others had prepared
誰
for
が
this.
狼かはさておいて、まず大事なことは2つ。まず、昨日僕はメイコに対してこの集落を脱出することを持ちかけた。それは昨日皆に聞かれたと考えるべき。村からの脱走は禁忌、それは知ってる。問題は村からの脱走をみすみす見逃す側も汚れの対象になるかどうかって点。だから早朝にメイコの身柄を押さえた。これはまあ話としてわかる。もう一つ、昨日ちえみと安永くんは対立関係になった。そのままならば今日の宴では両者の一騎打ちだ。基本的にははるちゃんの票をほぼ確定票で抑えている安永くんが有利だろう。しかしタエさんとメイコという不動票がある以上確定じゃない。だからちえみと和解して唯一の部外者である僕を狙うのが一番安全確実だと踏んだんだよね。
Okay.
違う。
はい。
違わない。だから僕を黙らせるためにメイコを人質に取っている。
違う。あなたがこの子を人質に取って僕らにひどい要求をすると思ったから。
No, man, we just want to
僕
bounce.
にそんなことをして何の得がある。ぶっちゃけ僕は宴には関わってない。君、
それが間違いだったんですよ。じゃあこの場の他の誰が元凶だって言うんですか。僕もはるちゃんも家族を失った。タイバーだってたくみさんを失った。僕らはみんな大事な誰かを失ってる。じゃあ失ってないのは
I don't fucking have anything
あ
to
なた
lose.
だけだ。久石春明さん。
I lost my bike. Isn't that enough?
I spent
Oh.
$80,000 on that bike.
So that was his story, huh? Sorry, Yasunaga-kun, but you're a bad
君
storyteller.
は嘘とか無茶を言うときに雄弁になる癖があるみたいだね。
This guy is insufferable.
He really
ふ
is.
ざけるのは大概にしてください。
さすがに今はおふざけは自重してるよ、安永くん。君は人を感情で動かそうとしすぎている。そしてちえみのことも舐めている。君の言動のおかしなところを感情論で押し切れると思っている。確かに全ての悪事を僕のせいにすれば感情的には収まりがつくだろう。しかし一方で君は自分のキャラを大事にしなさすぎだ。冷静沈着、年上の暴論にも理屈でこうするキャラをね。
勝手な分析やめてください。
まあそれは10年だか何年だか君を見てきた村の方々が決めることだ。もちろん君だって心境の変化があってもおかしくないほど辛い体験をしたっていうのはわかる。じゃあ聞いてみようよ。君が完全に理性を失って僕というよそ者に怒りを向けているのか、 あるいはとても冷静に僕をくくって今日の宴を空振りさせ、自分の有利にことを運ぼうとしてるのか。つまり昼の死刑を回避して得をする陣営の人間なのか。どっちだと思う、チエミ。
She gasped and looked at Yasunaga Oribe. There was suspicion in her eyes, not trust.
言えばよかったんだ。僕のことを狼だと。それでも言わなかった。あくまで元凶と言い続けた。自分が狼だと知っているから。嘘をつくのが苦手なんだろう。かといって勝負どころじゃ、つかなきゃならない嘘はつかなきゃダメなんだよ。
知恵ねえ、こんな奴のことを信じるの？
そうやって理屈に対して感情論しか準備してないのは君の甘いところだ。君は最後まで理屈で戦うべきだった。
Insufferable.
あんたに何がわかる？ヘラヘラしてるだけで何もしなかった、できなかったくせに。
He had a point there. I did feel like shit about that. I should have joined the feast from the get-go. If I had, I wouldn't have wasted time on pointless arguments and autopsies. However,
I would have taken control as the outsider and the only rational person here.
Look at me, I have the biggest dick here!
自分で考える頭を持ってたくせに、早々に迷信におもねって、弟と母親を見殺しにした君に対して、一人の大人として率直に怒ってるんだぜ、安永君。
Once I said that, Yasunaga Oribe hung his head and fell silent. 10 seconds of silence were enough for everyone to realize he'd lost the argument. However, the expression on his face was abnormally calm.
確かに僕は狼ですが。
He spoke as if it wasn't a big deal.
あなたはいくつか勘違いをしてる。
But that just made it seem even more abnormal.
もう僕らは勝ってるんですよ。
He tossed away the grass sickle. His voice wasn't nearly as passionate as before. It was cold and rational. He demonstrated a confidence rooted in sound logic, but I couldn't understand what he meant.
もう一人の狼、出てきてください。
Chiemi-chan.
Yeah, what was the point of that?
いいね、ヤス君。
ええ、もういいです。
Oh, is it? It's her.
Oh, Grandma.
あたしがもう一人の狼よ。
I couldn't make sense of this. Had he decided to graciously concede by selling out his partner now that he'd been cornered? No, he said he'd already won. Even if there were 2 wolves, there were 4 of us. They'd lose in votes. My answer came from a completely unexpected direction.
兄ちゃん、やっぱりタイバーと兄ちゃんが狼様だったんだね。
Why does she look happy?
Yeah. Haruaki Chiemi became the least comprehensible of anyone present. She ran to Yasunaga Oribe and hugged him. He hesitated for a moment, but reciprocated. Meiko, still as clueless as ever, slowly walked over to
お
us.
兄ちゃん。
ごめんな。お姉ちゃんに隠れときな。
春秋さん、これって一体。
There's 3 wolves.
わからん。
Unless there's another role we don't know about.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling that something wasn't quite right for a while now, and I suspected it'd be made clear now. I was certain of it, and it left me feeling uneasy.
OK。主導権は君に移った。説明を聞かせてもらえるかな。
タエバー、お願い。
ええわよ。もうずっとヤス君には頼りっぱなしだったからね。
So she wasn't even denying
ち
it.
いちゃん、メイコちゃん、
Not me?
これは話しちゃおらんかったけどね。昔、ずーっと昔に、あたしが娘だった頃に、上富士吉の門が山祭りで酔って言うとったのよ。 読み意味の宴についての本当のお話をね。
Okay, well, we thought there was something more to this.
Yeah. The truth. Tai Yamawaki told us a story that was very similar to the legend they told in their strange village. Well, it was less like it was similar, and more like it was like I was looking at it from the opposite angle. Okay. The part about Great Lord Shinai sending the 5 guardians to help people was the same. 4 of them teamed up with the humans to murder the wolves. However, in the real story, the good and bad sides were completely reversed. Apparently, the people and the 4 guardians joined Yomi on the very first feast of the Yomi Purge. Basically, all of them were Yomibito. They all ganged up on, overpowered, and expulsed the wolves, who tried to resist until the very end. That meant this land had belonged to the Yomibito for a long, long time. The wolves were summoned here by none other than Shinai-sama himself. Some people of Yasumizu were given the blessing of the wolves and had to free Yasumizu of its Yomibito. Basically, it was a holy war for them. And that was the truth behind the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Tai Yamawaki continued her explanation.
そんなもんは上富士吉の方々が私たちをバカにしてから考えたもんじゃと思ったのよね。だけどそうじゃない。本当じゃと親鸞様は加護をくださるとともにそう言われなさった。じゃからね、ちいちゃん。あたしらはみんな亡きにしてやらねばならんかったのよ。つらかったけどもね。匠も苦しそうにしとったけれど。でも、こうしてやらねば、読み人は救われんと。親鸞様は、親鸞様は言われるのよ。
Tai Yamawaki was crying. All right, so she was now a confirmed culprit who believed the murders to be salvation. There were just 2 more points I didn't understand. The corruption and the eerie message. Most things made sense if you switched Shinai-sama's enemies and allies. The idea that people were wearing those outfits could be the good guys was kind of weird, but, well, that was the culture here. Or maybe only the Yomibito, me too, saw them as evil. Maybe that was the story here. The problem here was that Chiemi didn't know this.
僕は加護を受けた時に知った。
So even Yasunaga-kun didn't know about it. I remembered some of his words.
学校の先生の受け売りですけど、思想を与えればいいんじゃないですか？要は、自分たちのしていることが正しいと思えればいいんじゃないかって。
He really hated lies, didn't he? He basically told me the truth of things. This feast actually had a system that made zealous murderers of people. Whatever, enough about Yasunaga Oribe.
なぜハルちゃんは知ってた？
She was glad when she realized Yasunaga Oribe was a wolf. Basically, she already knew the real story, that the wolves were the good guys. Why? Who told her?
狼様が私に教えてくれた。
Oh, maybe that's why she was messed up the day of the feast, because she was processing this.
Okay.
おじいちゃんが死んだ日に私の夢に出て、
Yeah.
そう教えてくれたんだ。
Nonsense. Insanity. Did she seriously decide to throw her life away over a dream? But on the day Oji-chan died? He died the night before Haru-chan tried to run away from the settlement. She believed the dream. She started to despair over being surrounded by Yomibito and planned to escape. That made sense.
でもタイバーはきっと正しい言い伝えを知ってると思った。タイバーが知らないはずないって。なのに言い出さないから
もしかしたらって思ってたし、
Huh.
兄ちゃんは二人で話した時、もしかしたらって思って。
It all clicked. She believed. She believed the sudden revelation despite a lack of proof, and that the man she liked was in the minority that had justice on their side. And right now, she said she would betray the humans and join the wolves. She believed Yasunaga Oribe was right with all of her heart. And so, the wolf Yasunaga Oribe had 3 votes for the feast.
知恵姉とメイコが僕に投票しても、僕を殺すことはできない。ルールを曲げて不採司さんを宴に呼んでも3票だ。決選投票をしても1人に選ぶことはできない。かくして2人とも欠けることなく狼の勝ちです。楽勝でしたね。
I saw it clearly now. I understood.
春秋さん、それって。
そうだね。安永くんの言う通りだ。ちえみたちの、いや、僕たちの負けだ。
Everyone had different reactions to my words. Chiemi backed away and gasped. Yamawaki closed her eyes and sighed. Meiko didn't seem to understand anything. Yasunaga Oribe didn't react at all. Haru Makishima was smiling. Oh man. All I really had left was struggling like the filthy, annoying adult I was.
はるちゃん。
何よ。あ、兄ちゃん。この、不採司さんは、どうなるの？
このまま、何も関わらないのならば、僕は無視する。
そう。
Was that relief just now? Sorry, but I couldn't enjoy my sudden jump in popularity.
なきにせいでも、ええのかね。
必要なら、親内様がどうにかするさ。
That dispassionate tone didn't do much to convince me he truly believed this ridiculous superstition.
黙ってはいないのでしょ、あなたは。
さあね。正直、そっちが善玉なら、読み人側に手を貸すのも微妙って気はしてきたし。
春秋さん？
思ったより薄情なんですね。
Yeah, I'm not a great guy.
Yeah,
都会
he's a
人の
dick.
合理性とでも思ってくれれば？
見損なった。とは言いませんよ。正しい判断です。とても正しい。
Big words.
ちょっと、そんなのないでしょ。あなたあれだけ、知恵姉のことが好きとか言っておいて、見捨てるの？
Good point. Well, yeah, I was pretty damn cold-blooded.
痛いところを突かれるばかりでも不愉快だから、反論しちゃおうかな。はるちゃんよ。
何よ。
わかってると思うけど、君は死ぬぜ。それで、いいんだよな。
え？
This was pretty damn bad, honestly. Apparently, the great Lord Shinai was a huge scumbag. He should have told her that much.
君に聖典を教えたところで、君が人側であることに変わりはない。君は狼になったわけではないだろう。匠さんや野里さんを殺したわけではないだろう。
殺してないけど。
なぜだか知らないが、君は聖典を知ってしまっただけのただの人だ。だから人が負けるということは、君も死ぬということだ。二人きりの時の話で、安永くんが狼である可能性に思い当たったと言っていたね。安永くんがミスでそんなことをするとは思えないから、きっと君の挙動不審から君がそういう役回りだと感づいて、それで自分の正体を確定させないままに誘導して、君が誘いに乗るかどうかを試したんじゃないかと思うわけだけど、狼はそういう役回りの人がいることを知っていたということじゃないのかな。
それがどうした？
He actually said that? This is the part where he was supposed to start. This is the part where he was supposed to start lying. By not denying that, you basically admitted that you were an absolute scumbag who used Haru-chan knowing you'd have to kill her. He was that bad at lying? Then how did he survive so long? Wait, something was very wrong. I'd seriously misunderstood something here. And soon enough, my hunch was proven right.
本当。それが何だってのかしらね。
Haru-chan. Harumakshima's voice was brimming with joy, a carefree smile, laced with seductive intoxication.
読み人はくくられなきゃならない。汚れた、醜い、おぞましい私たちには。
Man, that grandma smiling in the background really makes this whole shot.
Yeah.
誰だってわかるわ、そんなこと。だから兄ちゃんは香織さんを手にかけたんだもんね。お母さんを幸せにするために。
ああ、
その通り。
兄ちゃん、春も幸せにして。
Harumakishima coquettishly leaned on him. Yasunaga Oribe brought her closer without even a flicker of emotion crossing his face. Tai Yamawaki watched them with a broad smile. What? What the hell? What were these people?
それで、知恵ね、どうする？おとなしくするなら救ってあげる。
I underestimated it. I underestimated the madness of Yasumizu, and I realized too late that the Feast of the Yomi Purge wasn't just a system where zealous murderers killed each other. There was something here that completely shattered the people on a fundamental level. It was like a gear of madness. Those who knew the real story found salvation in death. That insane tale instantly convinced people that it was right to agree and to find peace in that, and I was actually surrounded by those very people. Understanding that made me remember that she was from here too. Chiemi was trying to take a step forward. I should have realized this earlier. She, who was afraid of God, was just like them, who accepted their salvation. Both brands of madness probably had roots in the exact same thing, so she was just as susceptible to madness as they were. However, it wasn't too late for her. Yasunaga Oribe's expression stayed the same. But right before I looked away from him, I saw a slight change. It was bitterness, irritation, something out of place on a victor's face. That made me realize that his plan for this scene wasn't lost to madness. Then I had no choice but to take advantage of the opportunity. I grabbed Chiemi's hand. I pulled with so much force that she fell on her backside, but I didn't care. I dashed past her and swung my weapon at Yasunaga Oribe. I hit Harumakishima once, Tai Yamawaki twice,
Damn.
and Yasunaga Oribe 5 or 6 times. Then I ran to Chiemi and Meiko, who were completely dumbfounded and fled the hall. There was no time to waste. I had to hurry up and escape. If I didn't, I'd waste the one chance he'd given me.
なあ、ちえみ。
何？
あの安永くんってのは本当に頭が良くてやがるな。
何のこと？お手って痛い。転んじゃう。
I was probably irritated, not just because of hunger. It was because of the epiphany I'd had, and because it had taken me so long to reach it. Yasunaga Oribe had a different motive.
芹沢ちえみに惚れている君は彼女だけは手にかけたくなかった。そして残っていた合理的思考でわずかでも彼女を救う可能性があるのは脱出しかないと判断した。しかし大っぴらに脱出を認めれば他の全員に汚れが及ぶがゆえに、僕が全員を叩きのめして無理やり連れて行ったという形を取らざるを得なかったということなのだろう。
God.
くそ。
Really? If he didn't intend to let me run away, he wouldn't have thrown away the sickle. He was basically signaling for me to understand and finally attack him. In the end, he was far more clever than me. I never stopped dancing to his tune. Regardless of, no, exactly because of that, I had to help these two escape no matter what. I pay taxes and everything. By the way, using an adult weapon, using an adult weapon, what the fuck am I talking about? Using an adult without relying on one yourself was a very adult thing to do, Yasunaga Oribe. Good luck with the rest. We crossed the field paths, went past the stone graves, and over the boundary. Descending the cliff took a lot of patience. It didn't seem like they were chasing us, so we could go down carefully. Chiemi's expression was dead. She'd been hit hard by a sudden revelation. The game board had been flipped on her. She'd lost, and now she had to suddenly say goodbye to her old friends. It was hard to just laugh that off. Should I have told her about Yasunaga-kun's intentions? I did consider it, but couldn't bring myself to. He chose to save her by sacrificing their relationship. If she knew, she'd probably want to go back to the settlement. Or maybe I just didn't want to say it because of my pride as a man. Ugh.
Yeah, it's that second thing.
That was fine by me, too. Being able to shrug off such unfairness was one of the blessings of adulthood. So I consoled Chiemi, shouted to Mako to be more careful, and generally talked as much as I could. So I hugged my new girlfriend and shouted at the kid to shut up.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
man.
like a man. The mist grew even denser.
ねえ、ちえみ。もう、村の外って言ってよくない？
そうかも。
やったぞ。ほら、何事もなく抜けられた。
Ah, that's the cue for something to happen.
Yep.
そうそう。さあ、川を下って町に戻ろう。
川、どっち？
I couldn't see anything. I hadn't just lost my bearings, it was worse than that. I couldn't even see Chiemi or Mako's faces, and I was actually holding their hands. We were already at the bottom of the cliff, walking on the stones below. We heard water, so it was clear we were close to the river. But I didn't know if we could keep going right now.
ちょっと休もうか。
無理よ。
ちえみ。
I thought she was going to freak out again, but
違うの。
she stopped me.
聞こえないかな。水音以外に何か。
Confused, I strained my ears.
何か聞こえる？
ワンワン。
Woof woof.
ワンワン。追ってきてる。
They were acting strange. I strained my ears again. Was it above us? I could hear the faint sound of rustling leaves from the top of the cliff.
逃げなきゃ。
Yeah, in the mist.
春明さん、メイコちゃんを。
The intensity of Chibi's voice made me take the situation seriously. What if the sound was just the wind, though? Was she jumping at shadows?
No,
But
dumbass.
I would have been lying if I said I wasn't worried. After all, a question remained unanswered. And according to the legend, this was their HQ. Wait, they were the good guys, right? Still, this wasn't a normal place. I had to get out of here ASAP. Okay. There we go. After a while, I was forced to recognize the anomaly. We couldn't reach the river. I ran along the riverbed. It should have been small, just a few meters wide. But even after 10 minutes of running, there was no sight of the river. We couldn't get anywhere. It was just like ring wanderung. A phenomenon where people wandering snowy peaks lose their sense of direction and just end up walking in circles. However, even if my sight was limited, how could anyone get lost on such a small riverbed? I could hear the stream right next to me. This felt so wrong. I was as good as blind. All I could trust were my ears, but that just made me realize how useless that was to rely on. I trusted my sense of direction less with every passing second. So, the sounds of parting grass in the distance, the sounds of claws stepping on the rocks. I felt like they were getting closer. I couldn't be certain. Eventually, we slowed down. The others didn't say anything, but they were clearly exhausted. We hadn't eaten for days, not to mention the dense mist made our clothes all uncomfortably damp and cold. We walked along the riverbed without uttering a single word. The sound of water wasn't getting closer, but something else sure was. Something. Things I didn't know scared me. The chill and the fear strangled me like a garrote, and as I carried Mako, passed out from exhaustion, on my back. How long has it been like this? Suddenly, the hand I was dragging became heavier. Chiemi had stopped.
Haruaki-san.
Uh-oh. She called my name through the mist.
何かな
I tried to sound lighthearted, but I wasn't confident I pulled it
も
off.
うダメだこれ。
Her voice suggested the image of a grim smile.
何を言ってんだ
Unlike before, I couldn't manage the defiant tone I'd use whenever she said something stupid. It was true that something unnatural was happening and that there was no simple explanation. And Chiemi was wearing down both physically and emotionally.
ちょっと休もう。それで進めば、すぐ抜けられる。大丈夫だ。
ダメだよ無理だよ。
どうして
あのね、私がいたらきっと川は越えられないんだ。
Ah, that's probably why. What? That was like...
だって言ってたじゃん。読み人は私たちの方だって。だから
彼岸を渡れないとでも言うつもりか
だって私、小さい頃からずっと安水のものを食べてきた。それに、私は、汚れてるから。
ちえみ
見ないで
It's fine. He can't see you through the mist. Oh no, he's eating her face.
I think something's up with her face. Like, she looks like she's rotted. I turned around and pulled her by the arm. I looked at her face from point-blank range. It was covered in brown and yellow blisters.
Oh.
Before I could even be surprised or disgusted, I just kissed her. The sugary taste of blood, pus, and rust filled my mouth and spread throughout my throat. I didn't care. Ugh. Then, to discard all unnecessary emotions, I hugged her as hard as I could. My breathing and thoughts ceased. I kept it up until the pain began to fade, then disappeared completely. Eventually, our lips were separated again. She prioritized words over breaths.
ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。本当、ごめん。
Even so, I hugged her tight. I couldn't lose to something so ridiculous. She weakly hugged me back, but she couldn't keep it up for long.
行こう。
だから。
行こう。
The presence in the distance was definitely closing in. We walked. I felt like I'd been walking for several hours now. Our pursuers were close now, but I had no intention of rushing. Chiemi was slowly but surely getting weaker by the second. Her speed slackened with each step, and the weight on my arm was becoming heavier. I could hear her cough and vomit something out. She apologized every time she did, and I basically replied with, "It's all right," using different words every time. We walked. Chiemi's feet began to make wet sounds with every step. We walked. Maybe we'd actually been here for only a few minutes? We walked. Chiemi kept apologizing. Maybe we haven't even moved a single meter. We walked. Maybe none of this was real. Then, maybe nothing that happened here would be weird. Eventually, Chiemi called out to me with a hoarse voice.
Haruaki-san.
She's like melting. The
Yeah.
fact that she said something different had sparked a moment of baseless hope. And so,
ありがと
her gratitude was followed by another wet
う。
sound.
楽しかった。
Yeah, she's fallen apart.
Yeah.
With those final words, her weight vanished. It was strange. After all, I was still holding her hand. Or rather, only her hand. With a splash, her bodily fluid spread around, while her limbs and entrails just collapsed. Chiemi was gone, leaving behind only her rotting hand. Perhaps her remains were piling up in the mist ahead. I had a strange certainty I couldn't touch it ever again. Was this what they called a Yomibito? I couldn't accept this no matter what.
私の何でもいいから
I'll take this
どこ
hand.
か一部だけでも
I mean, I think we will.
連れてって
I put the hand in my jacket pocket. I took Mako, still sleeping, and shifted my grip to make carrying her easier. I continued walking for too long. Mako woke up. She was shocked that Chiemi was gone and cried for a bit, but then she wanted to walk by herself, so I put her down on the ground. The very next moment, she was dragged into the mist. It was clearly a malicious force that did that. To me, it looked like a furry arm. A scream resounded.
She was eating the village food too.
Yeah, it was an inhuman, animalistic scream. After hesitating for a moment, I turned to run and caught a glimpse of something beastly within the mist Mako had disappeared into. I ran. And ran. Suddenly, I felt myself step into something wet. I had arrived at the river. It was meaningless. I'd lost everything. And in the end, only I survived.
私の何でもいいからどこか一部だけでも外に連れてって
Was there any meaning in fulfilling that promise? No. The meaning was for me to find. That was why I had to survive and find a forest. Yeah. I still had that hope back then. Oh, damn. They finally broke through the mist and showed themselves. Oh, of course. This really was hell, wasn't it? This wasn't the human realm or nirvana. It was a river of hell, so of course both sides of it were going to be hell. There was no splash when we threw Takumi-san's body in, was there? The moment we went into the mist and down the cliff, our bodies vanished from the world and reached a place from which there was no return. And I finally had no choice but to accept it. As someone who had taken in the flesh and blood of a Yomibito, Chiemi, I couldn't escape either. Oh, ew.
Gross.
Oh, ugh. That was why I screamed stupidly, only managing to run a few steps before their sinister claws tore me apart.
Oh,
I was like, so that was why I screamed stupidly.
I love it. Oh my god.
Damn it. Where had I gone wrong? Descending into Sadanaga? Not believing Chiemi when she told me we couldn't escape? No, it went back even earlier than that. I already knew the answer. Ugh, shit. I really wished I'd been part of Yasumizu and participated in the Feast of the Yomi Purge. Maybe I could have gotten a different ending than this. That was the last thought that went through my mind before all faded away. Okay. Raging Gloop? Okay, that's a weird way of doing that. Alright. So you know what? I think this is where we're gonna call it here, and I think next time with the new information that we are armed with, we are gonna be shunted back into Idiot's body at an earlier time.
And we're somehow going to be able to participate in the feast.
That'd be nice.
It sounded like we would be, because he was like, "Ah, man, I wish I could have participated in the feast."
I think that's kind of right now what's bothering me the most about this. I want to say I hesitate to call it a game because it's literally just we're reading and we're occasionally making a choice.
Yeah.
That's kind of the other thing that it's frustrating me about this game, because we've said it multiple times. If we were playing from Chiemi's point of view, we could have had her investigating and looking for stuff. Oh, prepare yourself for the next feast. So yeah. I don't know. Maybe in the next part, like if we're able to participate in the feast, we could do more, because we're making the inevitable. Oh, Raging Loop. There it is. Whirls and Claws.
Yeah, it's just like you said, like the day after we played this for the first time, you pointed out that it was Loop, L-O-U-P.
No,
like
yeah,
the
the game.
dogs.
It's the game is called Raging Loop LOOP.
Right,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
But they've changed it. They've changed the spelling from
Yes.
LOOP to
Yeah.
loop.
Yep. Um.
Oh,
So
Hillary just got it.
yeah. So I'm like, so I'm making the I've been making the comparison to Danganronpa. Danganronpa, like you're able to walk around the school, talk to people, investigate, find clues, and then like
Hmm.
there was the trial portion, which is essentially in this case the feast, where you got to point out contradictions and present your own arguments and present evidence. There's just none of that. It's just you know I've been locked in the room and we're watching as everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
That I think this entire time, the only time we played tonight, the only choice I got to make was, do I get stabbed or do I hit Cowdy with a chair?
Yeah, do I hit the grieving lady? Right.
Yeah. Um. So,
Oh,
oh,
we got a
okay.
key.
You can view it in the key. Okay. The route unlocked by this key is represented by the same number on the scenario chart. Let's just take a look at where the chart is, where we gotta go. It's probably here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Wow, it's that far
Yeah,
back.
that was like the very first choice. Yeah, it was because it was right at the beginning of the game.
Okay. All right. So yeah, next time, well, let me do a save.
Let's do a save. Yeah, I do have to say though, like at the end where like we've been giving this asshole shit for being an asshole the whole time, and he is
Yeah.
an asshole.
Yes.
But the fact that he never let her hand go,
Uh-huh.
I actually thought that was a really nice touch. Like, okay, yeah, he's a creep and a jerk, but there is some actual decent humanity in there.
I
Very,
did
very
like
deep.
that as well.
Yeah.
I did like that a lot. So, oh, ending number one. I think we've gotten like ending number one, four, and five or something like that. Launch hit.
Nah.
No, just bring me to the.
No.
And then there's this motherfucker.
Our wolf in sheep's clothing.
This motherfucker.
Do better next time, buddy. We literally have no choices to make.
Yeah, I know, right? But
Yeah,
all
he's
right,
saying as if we have any control over the narrative, where it's like we're literally reading a book. This is like
right.
a choose your own adventure book with
With
like pages and pages and pages of just discourse before you can actually make a choice.
it is an interesting narrative. I would have preferred a little bit more investigation
Yes, agreed.
so far. Um, but yeah. So next time we'll jump into this with this new key and see what that unlocks for the next scenario because there's still elements to this that we're not getting yet, like
Hmm.
Fushiyoshi and yeah. I mean, there's got to be a way to make it out and not die.
Yeah, and I mean, Chiemi has like fucking lead protagonist hair. She's got like three different distinct hairstyles, and
Yes.
that apparition that we saw called her the daughter of Fushiyoshi. So
Yeah.
like,
That's what I'm saying.
there's
Like
yeah,
I really think this game would have just been so so much more interesting from if we got to play as Chiemi as opposed to fuck shit.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's take our bad ending key and see what that gives us next time.
Yes, but uh, hope everybody is enjoying watching along and engaging with the story. I am still enjoying it despite the lack of actual gameplay. And
Yeah.
don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Receivables for updates. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube and watch our previous playthroughs. So we will see you guys next time. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.